true I'm nervous. But why will you say that I'm mad?
But I don't want to go among mad people.
Oh, you can't help that. Because everyone's mad.
Long before language and clocks and alarm systems, police and polite conversation, the body was our compass in the world. We learned our world by our senses, hearing the snap of a twig behind us, knowing the shift in the air and the scent before a storm. It was an old intelligence that has never left us, and it lives in the quickening of our pulse and the soft animal part of us that never fully believes we're safe. Most of the time, in modern life, it whispers so quietly we mistake it as something silly. We ignore it, and it can be so costly. Sometimes it's a quickened breath in a quiet room, or a tightening at the base of our spine when someone gets a little too close, or the urge, that inexplicable urge to stand near the elevator doors instead of at the back wall. We tend to call it instinct or intuition, but that's just a polite name for an ancient alarm system that's buried within us. The mind can be delusional. It can talk itself out of the sense of danger. It can make excuses, and it can say things like, I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure it's fine. But the body does not negotiate. The body knows. It recognizes patterns that we don't consciously register. It recognizes scents that we don't have words for. Micro expressions that flash across the face of a stranger. Too fast for thought, but not too fast for our survival instincts. Sometimes this knowledge shows up as dread, unexplained dread. Sometimes it's a clarity. Sometimes it's a quiet but steady voice that says, pay attention to this person. And this story begins at the moment that voice grew louder than reason.
The city was asleep above ground, for the glass tower on K Street still hummed faintly with artificial light, and by 1 a.m. only the night shift remained, those two junior, too desperate or too invisible to leave with the crowd. Sandy gathered her things in silence, her body tired and heavy from the long 10-hour stretch she had worked. She had learned not to expect a second wind, and committed herself to the slow, resigned rhythm of the night commute out of D.C., past the sterile suburbs and into the dark green hush of beautiful southern Maryland. The roads out there still smelled of soil and water. The Potomac never too far from the edge. Even when she couldn't see it, she felt it. A wide black presence running alongside the road. On most nights, the river looked calm, a ribbon of ink under the moonlight. But she knew what it carried beneath the surface. Undercurrents, sudden drop-offs, cold that stole your breath away. Every year, 6, sometimes 7 people slipped into it and they never came back. Boaters misjudging the distance, swimmers caught by some hidden current, cars skidding off of wet pavement. The Potomac never announced itself when it decided to take someone. It simply opened and closed again, leaving the surface smooth as if nothing had happened. She often thought about that as she drove. How danger could be silent, how it could travel beside you for miles, unseen, waiting for you to make a mistake. She decided to take the freight elevator that night, shortcut straight to the underground parking lot. She skipped the gleaming lobby and its flickering halogen lights. The hallway to the freight elevator was always darker than it should have been. It was lined with concrete walls that swallowed the sound of her footsteps. She pressed the button and waited, staring at the dull metal doors, when the door behind her opened and a tall gentleman stepped in from the hall. He was one of the senior partners, she realized that. He was a handsome man with fitting blonde hair and a neat mustache. He had an old-world dignity about him. Tonight, though, he wore casual clothes and carried a dark gym bag. What is he doing here, she wondered. He was too important, too far removed from the graveyard staff, and why this corridor? This forgotten passage to the freight elevator. A strange sensation crawled up her spine, and it wasn't anxiety, not even fear as she had known it before. It was older. Her skin prickled. Her heart began to beat louder and harder, so much that she could feel it in her face. Every instinct whispered one word: run. When he stepped closer, she could smell his cologne. Faint, expansive. The old freight elevator chimed, and instinctively Sandy stepped aside. You go ahead, she said. No, he said smoothly. We can go together. Her throat tightened. No, really. You can take this one. You go ahead. I insist, he responded, and he smiled. But something in that smile felt practiced, like it was a mask, a warmth that didn't reach his eyes. Her body noticed before her mind could explain. She clumsily mumbled something about forgetting a file and fled down the hallway. She sat at her desk and waited 20 minutes before taking the main elevator. She scanned every shadow, and only when she was certain he was gone did she descend to the parking lot and start that drive home. The highway was nearly empty, and her car was a silver ribbon cutting through the darkness. She was minutes from Indian Head Highway, that long, straight artery that sliced into southern Maryland. It was a road that locals whispered about, but there were too many fatal accidents, too many pedestrians stuck at night, too many roadside crosses fading into the weeds. It was a straight shot, no curves to warn you, just speed and woods, and the sense that anything could step into your path at any moment. Some said it was poor lighting, bad design. Others said the road carried memory, impact, screams. the echo of metal and bone, a ghost road. Her hands tightened on the wheel as she approached the on-ramp. Her body always did that there. This stretch demanded attention, and it punished inattention. And that was when the jolt came. A hard, sudden tap from behind. What the, she thought. A silver SUV filled her rearview mirror. There had been no one there seconds before, no headlights, no engine sound. And yet it was there now, bumping her on an empty highway at 2 a.m. It pulled in front of her. Robbery? Carjacking? Her mind ran patterns she'd absorbed over years of true crime reading. She thought. Isolate. Test. Intimidate. Create confusion. She eased toward the shoulder. Before she could stop, the SUV swerved sharply and shot up the northbound ramp toward the Beltway. Gone. She stared at it, trembling, and for a moment, she considered following it. Then reason returned. What am I doing? She whispered. Just go home. The miles slid past, but her nervous system stayed alert. 2 encounters, 2 violations of space, too close together to be nothing. She remembered something she'd read. Her body detects threat milliseconds before the mind forms language. Intuition isn't magic. It's pattern recognition running below consciousness. Micro expressions, posture, timing, proximity. 1,000 tiny signals stitched into one conclusion. Danger. The damage to her car was barely visible. No real harm done. But in her kitchen, picking at cold leftovers, the night replayed in fragments. The dark hallway, the gym bag, that smile, the SUV appearing from nowhere. She had ridden elevators with others before. Alone. Why him? Why then? Another memory surfaced. A documentary about how some offenders, after crossing a line, feel compelled to return to the place where it happened. Not out of guilt, out of gravity. And investigators called it return to scene behavior. It was a need to re-experience control, to test access, to confirm that the boundary was still open. Predators didn't always vanish. Sometimes they circled. And while she felt foolish for running, she had another thought that took root. If he comes to my desk tomorrow, even though he's never spoken to me before tonight, I'll know it wasn't wrong to flee from this man. The next afternoon, the office was quiet. Then someone was standing behind her. She hadn't heard a thing. But then came the voice. Hi, Sandy. Warm, cheerful, too cheerful. Her body froze before her mind caught up. It was him. You've helped me on some projects before, he said lightly. I just wanted to say thanks. The fear surged back, full and immediate. She nodded, keeping her eyes on her monitor. She did not turn to look into his face. And then he was gone. Coincidence? Was it him in the SUV, she wondered? Could it be her imagination? Or had she brushed against something real? Something that moved quietly just beneath the surface of ordinary life? She never saw him the same way again. And if he ever hears this story, he'll know that she knows.